Hello and namaste to everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to yet another episode of On the Mic with Parth, where we have conversations with adventurers from all over the world. Today we have a very special guest on this show with us, Sofi Saphier. She is a trail runner, alpinist, and a mountaineer from South America, from Chile. I have been following her adventures, her training on Instagram since a couple of years. Just the kind of dedication that she has towards her sport, towards her training, is something that really inspires me. She is actually one of the first women in Chile to have started speed climbing, and she broke the mental barriers in women's minds to pursue this sport. And she has done some very crazy speed climbs in her region. For example, she has done a couple of 5,000ers and 6,000ers, which usually takes 4, 5, 6 days in a span of less than 22 hours. I mean, the kind of preparation, the kind of mental endurance that is required to do these crazy speed climbs is just amazing. And in this conversation we spoke about a lot of things, especially her training, the mindset, life in Chile, and beyond her achievements. When you look at her, when you speak with her, you can see the genuine love that she has for mountains and for her sport. And this is something that is a very rare quality to see in a human being. Without much further delay, I will let you guys dive into the conversation I had with Sofi. Listen to the very end. It's a very interesting, educational, and inspiring podcast. Here is the conversation I had with Sofi on the mic with Parth. Enjoy. So, whenever you are ready, Sophia, we can start.
Yes, of course, whenever you want.
I'm ready. So, hello and namaste, Sophia. How are you?
Hello, Parth. Namaste. I'm great. And you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm in Mumbai right now. How about you? Where are you right now?
I'm in Santiago, Chile. This is the capital, and we have many high mountains around. So it's a place
Oh.
that I really love enjoying living in.
No, absolutely. I've seen pictures of the mountains in Argentina and pictures and videos and documentaries, and it's always been a dream of mine to come there, to climb some of the mountains there. So hopefully someday it happens soon.
Yeah, hopefully you will be able to come here and we can climb some peak in the Andes.
How long have you been running and climbing mountains? How did they start?
Well, I would say I started running more like discipline in 2016 at
Hmm.
university
Okay.
because in my case, I studied industrial civil engineering. So at that time I was in university. So that same year I started running like for competition in my university and also hiking with some French friends. And since then, and it was then when I saw the mountains and I started climbing like every weekend. It was crazy. Like I was loving this sport so much that I was training a lot. And that's how I would say in 2018, I decided that I wanted to go to Everest Base Camp to see the Himalayas and everything
Hmm.
around. Same year, I started doing some 5,000ers here in Chile. And since then, also running in the mountains and doing more technical climbing. It's been a really beautiful journey.
Awesome, awesome. And people already saw your introduction before our conversation started, but somebody as awesome as you who is doing so many things, I usually find it very difficult to introduce someone. So if I ask you, who is Sophia, what would you say? How would you introduce yourself?
I would introduce myself as a mountain athlete.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I also love this format of speed climbing, which means climbing 5,000 meters, 6,000 meters, like just in only a few hours.
Hmm.
Then it's discipline that I really love. So I think mountain athlete would be good.
You said you started running at the age of 16. So before that, were you
I
into?
Sorry,
Sorry?
in 2016.
In
2016.
2016, correct. Sorry.
Yeah, I was 20 years old by that time.
Okay, correct, correct. So before that, were you into any sports? Did you do anything physical, or was it the first time in 2016?
Uh, yeah, I would say I always had like a life related to sports. I was running and doing some bike and also playing basketball. It was a mix of sports, but more kind of social stuff with friends and things like that. But since 2016, it was more like a discipline that I keep now till nowadays.
Awesome, awesome. And you said you studied industrial engineering. That sounds scary. So you didn't want to pursue a career in engineering?
I am working as well
Oh,
in a company. So the thing is that I manage my time to be able to run in the morning,
hmm.
then work, then maybe train in the afternoon, and during the weekends I go to the mountains to climb some peak.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I've been following you for I think 3, 4 years, and the posts and the updates that I keep seeing, it makes me feel like you are spending most of your life, most of your time in the mountains. So I just assumed somehow that you are fully into this. That's why I got a little confused. Most people who are watching this are from India. How would you describe the mountains of Argentina? Because we've seen some pictures and documentaries here and there, and they look completely different from mountains compared to anywhere else in the world. So, how would you describe the mountains in your country?
Oh yeah, well in Chile I would say they're huge. Especially we have many 5,000ers or 6,000ers. I would say at least in the north and in the center or in Santiago they are not so technical. So that means well you have glaciers and stuff. It's very nice because when you go to up to 5,000, 6,000 meters, you find these like huge places with glaciers and incredible views, and it's amazing and really beautiful to be. But if you go to the south, you go to Patagonia, which means that you have another type of landscape, and I would say it's more technical. And you have many. We have like 6,000 volcanoes here in Chile.
Oh,
So I would say everywhere is like a huge landscape of.
so you said that you are more interested in speed climbing. Why? See, because for example, when I go on a 6,000er or a 7,000er or an 8,000er, I take it easy, like how in general the expeditions are, you go camp at a time, you acclimatize, you carry the whole shit with you. I've also done alpine style climbs, but I have never done speed climbs. Why did you choose to pursue speed climb more? What is it about speed climbing that attracts you?
Classical mountaineering is amazing as well and really beautiful because I would say maybe you have more time to appreciate. I think what I love about speed climbing is that, or at least in my case, a lot of euphoria and also endorphins from the fact that you're kind of going faster. Oh, of course, it also depends on the route that you're doing. If it's
Hmm.
more technical, you have to be careful and take the time to see what your next steps are gonna be. But I think I love the endorphins that produce the fact that you're going kind of and a fast pace.
Okay, I understand that. Everest Base Camp was the first time you went to the Himalayas?
Yes, it's been the first time and the only one, but I hope to be back maybe I don't know like in 1 year or two.
Okay, what are you planning to do?
One of my goals in the bucket list is doing Lhotse and Everest and other 8,000ers. But I also would love to climb Amadabad, for instance. That one is more technical for Everest than Everest. There are many peaks that I want to climb there, but I would say especially Everest and Amadablam.
Absolutely. Ahmadabalam is a mountain which I also really wish to climb. I was supposed to go this year, but due to some commitments here, I could not go. So I will be climbing it hopefully next year. So really looking forward to that also.
Amazing.
I see on your Instagram that most of the time you are running and training very hard for the events that you are preparing. So I want to dive a little deep into the kind of training a trail runner and a mountain climber such as you do. So what kind of training is it to start with?
Oh yeah, well, in my case, as I also love developing my career as a trail runner, I have a mix of training. So I divide my days between, well, running in the hills that I do mostly maybe four times a week. I also have some speed sessions on flat. And also, of course, I need to train at the gym to get stronger. Also in the climbing gym, and also the other part of my routine is doing bike. And also I have my physio that I do exercises to prevent
Hmm.
injuries. So it's a mix because even if you, I don't know, like in my case, I focus on, well, speed climbing or
Mhm.
mountaineering and also trail running. But of course, you need all this background and all this strength and training to be able to do it like for many years. So I would say it's been lots of hours in my trainings.
In a week, how many kilometers do you clock?
I would say maybe, well, nowadays I would say maybe 60, but it's because, well, I had some injuries a few months ago, so right now I am doing 60K.
Wow.
Also because I have some trail running races. I have 30K in 10 days, and also I have 50K in December, so I am training for that.
Awesome. I would like to go a little bit deep into the training aspect specifically. Like, for example, when I train, and I also have many clients who I coach for their mountain goals. So we mainly focus, like 80% of the focus in the training is on the low intensity and long duration training. If you go into a little technical side, zone 2, zone 1, where your heartbeat is, we try to stay there for longer hours. Is it something that you do also? Low intensity and long duration aerobic training?
Yeah, definitely. I would say maybe 85% of my runs are easy ones because the
Hmm.
importance is to build endurance. And
Hmm.
also, we have all heard the term mitochondria, that it's in our body, is in our cells. So when we are doing like these low intensity trainings, we give strength to our mitochondria, or we create more. And also, of course, the speed sessions are really important to improve our speed and get faster. But I would always recommend everyone, and I always tell all my friends how important low intensity trainings are.
The speed trainings that you do, are they interval trainings, or how do you break down the interval trainings? Like, is it sprints on flat ground? Is it sprints on slopes? So how is the speed part of your training?
Yeah, I do a mix between uphill intervals and also on the flat. So, for instance, on yesterday I had flat intervals, but
Hmm.
on Saturday I will have uphill intervals. Yeah, and all the rest I just run at an easy pace.
So basically, two workouts in a week is interval, and rest of it
Yes,
is low
easy ones.
intensity and easy runs. And how many strength sessions do you have in a week?
Oh, I would say because I have to divide between my upper body and lower body. So, but in total, I would say 4 or 5 sessions. Yeah, because
Four
I
or five
also
sessions.
try to keep being strong with my back, my arms. So I also spend a lot of time in gym, and also injury prevention that I do with my physio.
Yes. Like specifically, see now strength workout, when you say strength, most of the people understand going to the gym, lifting weights and getting bulked up, muscular and nice and heavy. Now, for
Yeah,
climbing mountains, that's not what you want. And if you
exactly.
look at elite runners and mountain climbers such as yourself,
Mm.
you're very thin,
Yeah.
very lean, but we can see you're very strong. So, what is the difference between the gym workouts and the strength workouts that you do?
First of all, I would say how big people get. It also depends on how much you eat, of course, and carbohydrates or protein, etc. But I would say, in my case, for instance, well, for climbing, I climb in the gym, and I also do exercises like the typical things that you find in the gym. And also, but for instance, I do a lot of exercises for my quads
Hmm.
and my hamstrings, which prevent injuries in my knees, for instance, that I've also had to do a lot of work. You can also find people in the gym doing these similar exercises. It really depends. It really depends. Yeah, but I think everyone, people who do sports, and either or even people who only want to stay fit or whatever, it's important to do strength exercises.
Diving more and more deep into the training aspect, because all the people who are going to be listening to this are in some way climbing mountains or preparing to climb mountains. So the more clarity, the more information they get, somewhere they might be able to plan their training right. So in the strength, what I do generally is one part of my strength is less weight and more repetition. And
Yes.
the second part is max strength training, where, for example, if you are doing a squat, with a normal weight you can do maybe 50 squats. Then
Mm.
in the max strength I pick up weight which will allow me only to do maximum 5 or 6 repetitions to. So is this something that you do in your strength also? Take me through it.
Yeah, yeah, I would say at least with my physio, we focus maybe more on repetitions, but I also have a few sessions with them that we do what you just mentioned. So that way we can increase the weights and be able to carry more in time or to lift more. Exactly. But I think for everyone who wants to find a routine of exercises, it's important to find your strengths and also your weaknesses to be able to work in. For instance, in my case, what I focus more about trail running is in my hips stability and also in my knees. So I do a lot of quads and stuff like that, but it's because I need it. Maybe someone else needs another type of exercises. So that's why I always recommend to have a physio or at least a session when they see what you can improve.
As you said, to identify your strengths and weaknesses and to avoid the mistakes, it's better to
Exactly.
have a coach, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend that. Well, in my case, there were many years that
Hmm.
I just went out and I did like anything that I wanted. But at least, yeah, in my case, I got some injuries too. So, from well, last year and this year, I had a coach. Well, I have a coach now who's called Martin Sor. He's from Czech Republic, a really good coach. And it's very nice because we discuss my goals for a short term or long term, and also he gives me my sessions. With it's very a really a smart way to train. I think, especially if you don't have like much time to do everything, so it's important to be efficient in your trainings.
Correct, correct. Because if you think you can do everything by yourself, it's a big
Yeah,
mistake. Eventually, you will
exactly.
realize that you can't.
Yeah, and of course, and especially if this is our passion and we want to keep doing it like for many
Hmm.
years, I think it's
Hmm.
important to find a sustainable way of doing it.
You mentioned that you had a few injuries. What happened? How did it happen? And where were the
Oh
injuries?
yeah, I think it was because I was just like overtraining or just running so much. I don't know, like a few years ago, like 3 years ago, I used to go on like Monday, Tuesday, and Friday and run 20K each, and then on Sunday do 60K. So the thing is that
Oh,
that way I got some injuries in my calves or my knees. Um, so that's why we've been doing well with my coach, my physio, my own trainings. Now we are working all together to prevent that, and as we said with our coaches, we can have a better way or more intelligent way of the training loads, you know.
yes, absolutely. Now you brought up a very interesting thing, which I'm sure most people don't know the answer to. Something that you used a word overtraining. Now, yes,
Yeah.
of course, 20 kilometers, and then 60 kilometers, that is overtraining in everybody's mind. But, for example, somebody who is starting off and they don't know how to, what is their limit. So how can one know if they are overtraining or if they are training right, if they've just started and if they don't have a coach?
Okay, what I've learned, I think, first of all, it's always important to listen to your body,
Hmm.
to be able to develop kind of self-awareness, to
Hmm.
know when you have something that it's hurting, but it's not hurting so much that you can still run, but maybe you have to take care, take one day of rest or two. That's very important, and you also learn with your experience, I think. But also, what I always hear is that if someone is running a certain amount of kilometers for some weeks and they want to run more, they have to add 10% approximately of kilometers. I mean, if you're
Hmm.
running every week 30 kilometers, the next week it cannot be 50, because then you increase the risk of getting an injury. So you can add a 10% of the distance that you were doing the previous week. For the people who have a coach, sometimes we feel maybe the responsibility of doing every single day what they ask you. But if someday you feel that you're not feeling so well, that you have something that is hurting, maybe it's better to take one day or 2 days off than just continuing getting injured and having to stop like for weeks. So it's important to find the balance between your responsibilities, your trainings, but also how you are feeling, how much you are sleeping, how you are eating, because of course every factor in our lives have an influence and impact. For the people who work in an office, there's also a stress factor in that. For the people who have kids.
That's a very beautiful insight. And that shows how self-aware you are, because most people think that no matter what is happening in my life, I must go train. No, your emotions, your mindset,
Yeah, exactly.
it does affect the quality of your training. Yeah, on some days, even 5 kilometers is hard for me. When I'm not right here, I'm like,
Exactly.
and with the kind of training you do, it's a lot of training. If it is not complemented, if it is not balanced out with a very good diet, I don't think it will be as effective. So, what do you eat? What is your diet like?
Even when I don't follow any nutritional plan or anything,
Oh,
but I what I focus on is eating lots of protein. Well, I also have protein powder in my house because
okay.
sometimes I'm just like going from one place to another. But of course, well, I try to eat healthy. I also love eating healthy. And I also
Hmm.
take other supplements such as zinc, magnesium, creatine,
Mm-hmm.
well, and also my protein powder. But also, for instance, if I go for an easy run of 1 hour, sometimes I have breakfast, sometimes I don't. But when I have speed sessions or long runs, it's really important to eat before. I would say during your run, maybe to take some gel, some carbohydrates, and then after your run or your training, to get more protein. So that way you make your body able to sustain all the training load that you're having.
Last question about training, and then I want to take you to the mountains. Uh, Recovery is something that most people think it's like, not the elite ones, of course, but the people who are starting off or who are in, the transition stage. They think that rest days are for weak people. There are no rest days. Train, train, train. How would you explain recovery and rest days to somebody who is thinking that rest days are for stupid people?
Well, yeah, in my case, I've met people who never take rest days.
Oh.
In my case, I would say I'd like to train maybe 5 or 6 days every week.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
mm-hmm,
between
mm-hmm.
running and strength and everything. But I would say it's important. Maybe one day as an easy day, at least, or to go for a walk on a
Mm,
very easy bike.
mm,
But I think,
mm.
yeah, people sometimes think that yeah, you have to just train every single day. But I mean, your body, even when we can have a really good recovery, good hours of sleep, I think it's important, and again, to make it sustainable. over the years to be able to give your body some time to recover. So if you take the Sunday just to go for a walk, easy walk or easy bike, but very easy, I think you're doing your body a favor, because then you go the next day you will go back to all the intensity and everything. So I think it's wise, important, and also not only the physical health, but also for your mind. I think it's good to have
Hmm.
some kind of reset
Correct.
and then just go back into your training.
Correct. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, like every athlete, like every human being, there are days when you feel like you don't want to train, or you don't feel like training. The mind plays its tricks. So how is your mentality like? What do you do when such thoughts come in your head? How do you deal with them?
Fortunately, most of my days very easy for me to go out, just
Okay.
because I'm motivated to keep running. I
Okay.
know that people always talk about discipline, that I think it's very important, of course, but I think it's also very important to be motivated. I mean, if we are training every day, we have to do it with passion, with happiness. We cannot just go out for discipline, have like a bad time training, but then you say, okay, I did it, so the next day I can go and train like
Hmm.
sad again, because I think it's important to enjoy what you're doing, but if I don't know, like for example, I would say maybe the days that I could not feel like so motivated are the ones in summer, because sometimes it's so hot outside.
Hmm.
So maybe I don't know, like in India, but here sometimes if you don't go out to run at 5:30 in summer, then you will have 30 something degrees in during the day. So that, and in my case, I love cold weather. So in that kind of days, I think I will just, I don't know, like put some music and tell myself that just to put my sports clothes on and go for the run. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
I think summer is the thing that I have to deal the most
I
with.
understand.
Yeah.
I understand. What I train for is classical mountaineering expeditions. Like you have to go slow, nice, and easy. There is no speed aspect in it. And of course, I have clients who I train for speed climbing also. How do you train differently, or what are those elements that you add in your training for your speed climbs? Because speed climb is not like you go for 30 seconds and then you stop and recover. You have to go at speed for hours. So, how is that speed climbing training for long hours for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say, at least in my case, trail running helps a lot, because you have to run in steep places. So
Hmm.
I would say, well, I would say generally cardio helps a lot to that format of climbing, but also for technical peaks, I would say it makes a difference,
Hmm.
because if you're climbing in rock, or you have to do some steep sections, your mind also needs to be prepared for the exposure and everything. And I would
Correct.
say having I think for that type of climbing, or you just need to be out in the mountains
Hmm.
climbing,
Hmm.
because in that way you will be used to the exposure and the more steep sections, complicated places. But yeah, I would say mostly experience. And also, I don't know, like there are some big mountains here that people do, I don't know, like in 5 days, and I've done in I don't know, like 20 hours or 22 hours. And that's because I've been also doing previous mountains, like for long hours of expedition and stuff like that. I think
Hmm.
experience and being there in the mountains, it also helps. Yeah, and also for your mind, I think, because someone needs to be able to be 20 hours just like going up 10, I don't know, or 12 up, 8 down, or 14 up, 8 down. So I think that mindset also, I think, is made in the mountains.
Which has been your favorite trails or favorite mountains in your region that you always go back to?
I would say my favorite mountain is one that it's called Cerro El Morado. It's a very technical one. Well, I've been there 3 times. I do it like in summer for 3 years now, and it's really beautiful because it's super wild. Not many people have been there, Maybe I don't know, like maybe if you go to the Alps, it's more common that there will be a mountain and many people will go there, but here it's not so common, especially the most difficult one or more technical ones. You don't find many people who go there. So when
Hmm.
you go, you're alone with your climbing partner. You have these glaciers, then you have to cross the glacier with the crevasses,
Hmm.
then you start
Wow.
climbing, so you have some kind of mixed climbing, then some scrambling, and the
Wow.
views are incredibly beautiful. Yeah, like because all that area is surrounded by wild peaks that almost nobody goes to. Of course, you have to choose your climbing partner well because
Yes.
it's very exposed. Also,
Yes.
for the way down, you have to do some rappelling and some scrambling in steep sections, so it's important to be careful, but it's a really beautiful mountain.
Amazing. And sounds like you are very good when it comes to technical skills and climbing. So, are there courses or something that you have done, or how did you learn the technical aspects of mountaineering and alpinism?
I think I still have many things to improve in, but I've learned with some, well, ice climbing courses, with, well, of course, rope courses. All the rest has been with my friends,
Correct.
or yeah, friends that know more than me. So at some point they took me. Of course, I had the knowledge of ropes and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a lot doing.
You mentioned to me that you have the fastest known time record on a
Yeah,
volcano, Saint Jose.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so, how many days does it usually take? And how is that mountain like? And how was your journey there?
I would say, first of all, that volcano is almost 6,000 meters, it's 5,856,
Wow.
and it's normally done in 3 or 4 days. Well, in my
Oh,
case, I did it like in 6 hours, 45 minutes.
holy cow.
But well, it's not a technical volcano. So you have to wear crampons, but nothing more complicated than that. Well, the thing is that I went with a friend of mine who was also into like sky running a couple years ago in Chile. It wasn't common at all that people do this stuff. So I would say maybe I was the first female who started doing this like speed
Wow.
ascents, because yeah, you go to Europe and it's more common, to see these women or men like doing these speed ascents, but here in
Correct.
Chile it wasn't common at all.
Wow.
So I would say it was a new format that I with some friends we introduced here in Chile, and now so more people are inspired to do that. So but the thing is that it was like that I was supposed to spend the weekend. This was like 3 years ago. I was spent to that weekend with some friends,
Mm-hmm.
but then this other friend who's into sky running, he told me, if I asked me if I wanted to join him to go to this volcano, and I said yes. It was my second time in that volcano, and we just went up. But fortunately for me, altitude is not a problem.
Wow.
So, and also I spend like always like all the time in the altitude, so it's easy. But it was almost 6,000, but we had, I would say, minus 15 degrees. It was like really good
Oh.
that day, I would say. So only
Uh,
like a light jacket and stuff like that.
oh. And where does the trek or the climb start from? What altitude is that?
2,500. Yeah, and you
Holy
go,
cow.
yeah,
So almost 3,500 meters in 6 hours. That's
yeah.
crazy. That's amazing. And you were not acclimatized before to 6,000 or 5,000 meter
The,
before this.
the previous weeks, I had been doing some 5,000ers.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
also that helps, of course. Yeah.
Yes, because I
And,
was thinking that without acclimatization, if you are able to do this, God has made you very differently then.
oh, yeah, maybe I don't know. Like if it was the first peak of the season, maybe of
Correct.
course I would feel a little bit more like the altitude. That's I don't know.
Correct.
Like that day was like at the end of January, and I had been like November, December, and January, like just going up to the mountain. So.
Have you faced situations in the mountains where you had to turn around?
Well, in my case, I would say at least the mountains that I've climbed, I have never had risk of avalanche, for
Hmm.
instance.
Hmm. Hmm.
And also when I plan my climbing, I see the weather like
Mhm.
very good. So
Mhm.
fortunately, I haven't been in any kind of extreme risk situation. Mountains in the Himalayas or in Pakistan with 8,000 meters, it's a different world, you know, like sometimes people just judge and they speak like if they were climbing some 6 or 5,000 meter mountain, and
Correct.
it's a different thing. So fortunately, in my case, I haven't been in that situation. Uh-huh.
Now, this is something that we've been seeing, in 8,000-meter mountains, especially in the last 2, 3 years, that people are pushing beyond their limit to a point that they get exhausted and they get sick. So, what do you think goes on their minds, and what do you think, in your opinion, is the solution for this?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Parth, because yeah, well, I think there must be different factors. I mean, of course, it depends on the mountain. But first of all, I would say there are many cases where people, I don't know, like especially for expeditions like Everest, that are quite more expensive than the other ones. People invest a lot of, well, time and money, of course, in
Correct,
these expeditions.
correct,
Also, of course, I think there's some kind of social pressure that maybe we put ourselves, you know, that people will be expecting that we
correct,
will make it to the summit
correct,
and stuff like that. So in that, because many people talk about ego, but in my case, maybe I would focus more on like the pressure that sometimes we have or we feel that we have. I think maybe we always want to expect the best, so we say, "Oh, maybe if I reach the top, I will make it. I will just come down." But people
mm,
forget that sometimes when they come down, they will be very exhausted.
correct,
The conditions will change. So that's why nowadays people repeat a lot the fact that when you're at the top, you're only halfway. You know, you need to make it back. So
correct.
the pressure that we put ourselves, it's one of the main factors.
Mm,
And
interesting.
also that sometimes it's our goal. We have been dreaming of being in that place in the top like for months or years. I don't know. Maybe, well, of course, I think there's a lot of inner work that we have to do,
Mm,
at least to work on our character or to be able to say, okay, I didn't make it to the
mm,
top, but I am back
mm,
alive. When
mm.
my friends ask, when my colleagues ask, I will tell them that it was just better to come down than not come back at all. So and also give the Sherpas, give our guides or anyone we want, go to these peaks with the authority to just say that we need to come back. I think that's a very important part.
Fixing your mindset, your character
Yeah.
first before going. That, there is a quote in my Annapurna documentary that summit is not success, safety is success. Summit is just an added bonus. The definition of success in people's mind has to be changed. But every day that you spend there, every day, every minute is so beautiful. It teaches you so much. And I think if people focus more on the everyday, every minute, then I think they would not be so crazy for the summit. Like, I always ask the people who come on my podcast, and it's a question I ask myself also. Why do you climb mountains, Sophia?
Mountains are the place that I feel most happiness, definitely. And all my senses full on. I am very happy every day and I love my life, but the most intense happiness, I think I
Mm.
found it in the mountains, especially in the wild mountains where almost nobody goes to. Mountains for me are kind of sacred places, you
Mm,
know?
mm.
So for me it's like a basic need, like to be in the mountains as much as possible.
If I ask myself why I climb mountains, as I grow, as I age, the answer keeps changing to why I climb mountains. Yes, of course, I'm happy in the mountains, but I realized one thing. Now, this might become a little too philosophical for somebody, but let's see where this goes. I'll tell you something. The peace or the happiness that we experience in the mountains, I realize it's the peace and happiness of the mountains. I always think that why am I not happy and peaceful when I come back to the cities. So, is there a way to be happy and peaceful wherever you go? So, eventually, I realized that the source of happiness and peace is actually within me. The mountains were just like a spark to ignite that. So, I learned somehow wherever I am to be happy and peaceful. So, now for me, I don't need any mountain or any human being or any kind of money or any kind of activity to be happy and to be peaceful. Yes, I would climb mountains for the rest of my life, but for me, it is a bit more about knowing myself, understanding who I am, opening up layers and layers and layers of myself. One of the things which I realized why climbing mountains makes you self aware is when you are going in the mountains, maybe consciously or unconsciously, you know that you are walking on the edge of life and death. One little mistake and you will be dead. You know, it takes so much to stay alive, it takes just one wrong step to fall off here. So, in that balance, in that attainment of perfection, I think you get so much in sync with your senses.
Yes, exactly.
And I always say that for me, when I'm in the mountains, my body, mind, emotions, and my energies, they all come together as one unit. Here in the cities, body is doing something, mind is somewhere else, energy.
Yeah,
So it's a perfect union
exactly.
of all the dimensions of a human being when I'm in the mountains. Does something like this happen to you also? All your senses are like,
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool what you said. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think everything it's only one thing, and that you're so present in that exact time that even when, yeah, you're kind of risking your life, the emotions, the intense sensations of being up there is everything. Yeah,
and
that's
when
very
you are
cool.
climbing mountains, how would you describe
Definitely.
your mindset, your mind, or your emotions when you're climbing
Yeah,
mountains?
in my case, well, of course, if it's a technical part or
Hmm.
something
Correct,
exposed, I
correct.
think I'm 100% focused
Yes,
on doing it right.
you must
But
be.
when I can, yeah, but when I am crossing a
Hmm.
glacier, for
Hmm.
instance,
Hmm.
or climbing some place that I have to be aware but not like totally focused,
Hmm.
I think my mind is just saying words to the mountain. Like I think my mind is always like honoring the mountains and saying how incredible they are, how good they make me feel, how much I appreciate that they allow me to be there.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. How is it easy or systemized to be a professional mountain climber or a runner in your country? I mean, what I mean by is there support from the government or the corporate world if you are a good athlete, if you want to pursue it full time? How is the system like?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would say in Chile, it's not so easy. I mean, if you want to dedicate completely to your sport,
Hmm.
it's good to try to get the support of private companies, not the
Okay.
government. Not the
Okay.
government now. In my case, fortunately, I've been lucky enough
Hmm.
to get the brands that they wrote me on my Instagram. For me, it's well, and of course, I
Mhm.
work as well.
Of course.
So I think if you work and you train
Hmm.
and you develop your sports and everything, you can do it. But working,
Hmm.
and unless you get really good brands or really good private companies supporting you.
It's hard everywhere, I think, to be a professional
Yeah,
athlete full time.
exactly.
Hmm.
But
And
I think you can also always try to find some way of, I don't know, like for maybe a trail runner, maybe if
hmm.
they take some courses, they can become coaches, or they or
Hmm.
some mountaineer, maybe you can give speeches of
Correct.
motivation, inspire people. Maybe I won't say that it's gonna be easy, but I think you can try to find maybe some ways to be an athlete, some ways of just like well
Earning money,
traveling and
yes.
doing your thing.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I do.
Mm.
I whatever work I do is all related to climbing mountains. I
Yes.
lead treks and expeditions. I speak, as you said, motivation. I don't like that word
Yeah.
motivation because it's a very temporary emotion to have in a human being. But that's what I do.
I
Then I also
yeah.
coach people. for climbing
Awesome.
mountains. I make YouTube videos. So as you said, there are many ways to earn money. It's not that if the brands are not supporting you, you can't do anything. It's not like that. Now there are many ways to earn money. It's not
Yeah,
easy.
fortunately, with technology and social media, I
Correct.
think it's easier.
See, it's like, when two mountain lovers like us, we come together and we can speak for hours and days. But I would like to do this again with you. Hopefully, next time when we physically meet face to face, have a conversation and record that after, having few more experiences in life. But before ending this, I have something which is called as rapid fire questions. Do you know what that is?
I don't know. What's that?
Rapid fire, as it sounds, quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Which is your favorite food?
I would say falafel.
Falafel. Oh, okay.
Falafel, I love it. I would eat it like every day.
What is the best or the most famous local dish in your region?
I would say humitas. It's a cake made of
Hmm.
corn.
Okay, interesting. Do you
Yes.
like it?
I like it a lot.
Okay,
With sugar, yes.
okay. In your eyes, what is your biggest weakness?
I would say maybe controlling my frustration with hot weather, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
definitely.
And in your eyes, what is your biggest strength?
Determination?
Hmm. If you have a choice to get one superpower, what superpower would you like to have?
Teleport. I would love to teleport everywhere.
Okay, if you have that,
Yeah.
if I give you that power right now, which is the first place you would like to go to?
I think I would go to Nepal.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe to Everest Base Camp or something. Yeah, climb some peak there.
A similar question. If time travel is possible, which is that one event in history where you would like to go, be a part of it, and experience it? Like, for example, World War II or the first ascent of Everest, where you can be there and be a part of it, like any event in history.
I would say that I would love to be, well, I love I mean, like, I love the history of World War II, like, and how
Correct,
everything happened. But if I
correct.
had to answer, I would say I would love to be in the Middle Ages with all these
Medieval.
scientists and people
Wow.
discovering the movements of the sun and creating their theories.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a very interesting time, and me also, I would like to go to that age and be able to experience
awesome.
that. And which is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, I would say it's Imitation Game. It's the movie of
Oh, I've
Alan Turing.
yes,
Yes, it's incredible.
it
Yeah, and
is.
yours?
Oh, my favorite movies keep changing, but my all-time favorite, now I will tell you, and you're gonna laugh, and my audience is gonna judge me very badly. But for some reason, it's Titanic. For very stupid.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Wow,
I don't know why,
that's awesome.
as
That's
the
very cool. That's very cool.
and I'll tell you a fun
Yeah, the
fact.
music is awesome.
Titanic sank 15th April 1:12 a.m. I was
Okay.
born 15th April 1:12 a.m.
Really?
Yeah,
That's impressive.
it's crazy. The
Oh,
coincidence is crazy. In your eyes, what is your biggest achievement been so far?
Oh, I would say the climb of Cerro Litoria, that it's a 5,000-meter peak. It's here in near Santiago in the Andes, and it's generally made in like 5 or 7 days. And I did it in, I don't know, like 22 hours.
Wow.
Of course, it was intense,
Yeah.
but I was very happy because I was confident that it was possible to do it in like one push.
Hmm.
So I was very happy to do it, and almost nobody goes there. It's yeah, always like expeditions or groups, and they do it in like 5 or 7 days.
If you can have dinner with five people who are either living or dead, any people who are present or in the history, who would those five people be on your table? Who would you want to
Oh,
have dinner with?
of course, a mountaineer. Maybe I would say, well, oh, I would love to have a dinner with Anatoly Bukriv, that
Yes,
he's was well from Kazakhstan, Russia.
correct.
He's the first one. Ulistek.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
I would love maybe Copernicus.
Okay.
Copernicus, yeah. Let's say Oppenheimer.
Oh,
Oppenheimer.
okay.
Maybe Christine Harila, the woman who
Oh,
made it.
yes.
Yeah,
She was on the
yeah.
podcast a few months back. We had a
Awesome.
conversation.
Yeah, I think she's really cool. Yeah,
Yes,
super
yes,
nice.
she is. She is awesome.
You have done many really good questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Yeah.
the rapid fire is a way to know the human being, the
Mm.
normal life of a human being behind the scenes. Like we spoke about mountains and trainings, but you are a human being who is much more than mountains and trainings. And through these questions, I get to see that side of you.
Huh?
If I have a few more quick questions, if a movie is made on your life, who would be the actor who should play your role?
I would love to have Kristen Stewart.
Oh, one of my
Yeah,
favorites
I
also.
really like her. I think she's
Okay,
super cool.
okay.
Yeah,
Which is your favorite mountain movie?
The Alpinist.
Same here. Crazy.
It's
Crazy.
terrible. Yeah,
Unbelievable, that guy. Unbelievable. One of the
yeah.
best. One of the best. And what I like about him is how he did not want to publicize it. He just climbed really
Exactly.
for himself.
And his mindset to be able to climb all of that steep places, yeah, incredibly steep places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear?
Maybe not reaching some of my goals.
Which is that dream mountain that you wish to climb in your life?
One of the dreams would be K2.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is the biggest regret you have in your life?
Biggest regret.
If you have any.
Oh, maybe it would be that the first years of university, I was like attending so many events. I don't drink, but I was attending many social events, so I wasn't studying so much. Of course, then I just changed my mindset, and I started studying more. But I would say maybe that one. Of course, I it's not like I kind of fully regret it because I think I learned a lot from it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I learned how to kind of say no, like to so many social stuff.
Correct.
I think that would
Correct.
be a good answer.
Awesome. Awesome. And if logic or resources, there is no limitation, what is that one crazy thing which you would like to do? Like, for example, I want to climb the highest mountain of Mars, for example. If logic is not a problem, if money is not a problem.
I think maybe I don't know if it's crazy, but I think going to the moon
Oh,
would
yes.
be very very
Oh,
good for
yes.
me. Yeah, I will
One of
love
my
that.
one of my dreams also to go on the moon.
Awesome.
And one last question. You're going to live a very long life. You're going to inspire a lot of people. But at the end of your life, how would you like to be remembered?
I would say as someone who changed ways, perspective, limits
Hmm,
of seeing things, especially in sports.
hmm,
Yeah, I would say someone who was able to break some limits
hmm.
and perceptions that people had in their minds.
Awesome. And I'm sure you've already done that with so many people.
Wow.
I've
Thank you, Parth.
As you said that you were one of the first women in your region to start, even have this idea of speed climbing. And it takes one person to break that limitation, and then the whole generation follows after that. So I think what you are doing back home, and also because of the social media now, the world can see you, the world can follow you. And I am personally very inspired by the dedication and one pointed focus and genuine love that you have for mountains. I can see on your face, in your eyes, that you are made to climb mountains. It's as simple as that. And it's been my pleasure to be able to spend hour and a half speaking to you. And I'm sure a lot of people would be inspired by listening to this.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, the pleasure is all mine, Parth.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and the incredible conversation. Tell everyone to follow to find what there makes them the happiest,
Hmm,
to find their passion, and to make an action plan to be able
hmm,
to do it and to
hmm,
enjoy life and also
hmm.
appreciate friends, family. We of course we always want to develop our careers and everything, But I think we can find happiness in many places, in many sources, and I think one of those sources is also having good friends and good people with you. So always it's important to keep that in mind, also with your goals and your objectives.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
a recipe for a perfect life, what you've described.
Mhm.
It's a very beautiful advice that you've given. And thank you so much, Sophia, for your time.
Thank you so
And
much for
may you climb mountains on the outside and mountains within you also. And be safe in the mountains and all the
yeah, you
best.
too.
Thank you. And I really wish
All the
to
best.
see you soon.
Yeah, me too. Hope we can climb some peak together.
Absolutely.
Definitely, it would be awesome. And thank you so much for the incredible time again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Parth.
Yeah. So it was a good conversation. I think everybody would like it.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you,
time
Sophia.
went so fast.